There is a common belief about how to help a person. If the liver hurts, what do we treat? We treat the liver. But the liver is actually where illness collects from the whole body. It's not where the disease starts, it just accumulates there. The idea that we should direct our efforts to where the pain is generally mistaken. Most of the time, this approach doesn't work. We need to look deeper into the situation. It's the same with a mother. Let's say a mother is suffering, and I react to it. Then it's my karma, my fate. In general, there are 3 layers of life. Try to understand this now. 3 layers of life. First, we need to understand, if I react to my mother, it means I can influence the situation. This is important to realize. Most people think, my mother is suffering, what does it have to do with me? I can't do anything. Helping then means pushing her mentally. Talking to her again and again, trying to make her change, but usually trying to pressure relatives mentally is completely useless. When it comes to helping relatives, it's usually impossible to help by explaining things, because there are 3 stages of how relationships with relatives develop. The first stage is when we simply enjoy each other's company. At this level, communication doesn't work because most people live just to enjoy each other. They build families just to use each other's emotions and bodies for personal pleasure. So hearing advice or moral talk from a relative in such relationships is totally useless. The person is not open to it. People enter relationships to enjoy each other, and they call this love. But this is not love. It's just infatuation and a desire for pleasure. The mind doesn't function in this situation. People can't really connect or talk deeply. They can talk about daily matters, children, work, the weather, gossip, how to earn money together. But they cannot talk about personal change. If one tries, the other says, don't interfere, leave me alone, don't touch me. That's it. The conversation ends. The second stage of relationship growth is when people start trying to live differently. They begin working on themselves like what we are doing here in this hall. We try to change ourselves first. We stop bothering our relatives. The idea that others are stopping me from living is immature. When we focus on someone and think, they are suffering, how can I help them? They must change. These are underdeveloped ideas. It's beyond our control. What is happiness? What is suffering? If a person focuses on what they cannot change, they will suffer. If they focus on what they can change, they will be happy. Just that shift in focus already brings happiness. When someone begins working on themselves after seeing that their loved ones are living the wrong way, they already start feeling happy, because they sense that something is changing inside them, not outside. Meanwhile, relatives also begin to change, but we often expect too much too soon. Yesterday, a few people who have been listening to my lectures for about a year asked me a question. Statistics show that when a person listens for around a year, they become capable of changing their fate, but they always start with themselves. And if someone has been listening for around 2 years, they have already changed their situation. They are truly able to make a difference. Because real-life changes are neither cheap nor fast. They take time, effort, and strength. We just need to invest them in the right way. So most people are at the first stage of relationships and personal growth. We enjoy each other and suffer because of each other. At this stage, the mind doesn't function properly in relationships, and helping the other person is nearly impossible. People usually just pressure each other. They try to overpower one another, and the result? Divorce? Simple as that. The more pressure there is, the less chance to live together peacefully. At the second stage, when people begin working on themselves, they often become overzealous. Instead of changing themselves, they start trying to change their partner. They start pushing even more, thinking this is what self-improvement means. But that's not self-improvement, it's the destruction of one's destiny. Pressuring someone at this stage makes things even worse. The other person sees you changing and becomes even more scared. They're afraid to talk to you at all. They think you've joined some strange group or sect. It's hard for them to accept anything or make any decisions. They just watch you, observing what's happening. But as the atmosphere begins to change, because you're working on yourself, the energy around you changes too. And this slowly starts to influence your loved one as well. The third stage of life in relationships is when you have already changed yourself. And now your loved one begins to respect you. They start feeling grateful to you. And this feeling of gratitude opens their heart. It allows them to listen to you. They've helped you in some way in life. And because of that, if they say something to you, maybe a suggestion or a correction, you're open to hearing it. Because they've already done something meaningful, something selfless, and that's what creates a real connection. Most relatives just do things for each other so they can live together. There's no real selflessness. To care for a loved one without expecting anything in return is very difficult. First, you need to pray, to tune your heart towards spirituality and selflessness. Only then should you take a step toward your loved one, and then the result will be good. But not immediately, because as long as we're still at the first stage where we just enjoy each other, there's no real way to help. You cannot change your loved one. At the second stage, they begin to change on their own, quietly. You can't change them directly, but your own life influences them. As your inner world improves, it affects them. Remember, we spoke about the inner lake. It becomes fuller and starts to overflow into your family. Their lives begin to change too, even without them realizing it. We don't understand how it works, and neither do they. But when we change our lives, their lives start changing too, without effort. And only at the third stage, when your loved one sees that you've truly improved, they begin to respect you and feel grateful. You live for their benefit. You care for them gently, asking nothing in return. Only then can you begin to speak, but just a little. Give advice only if they ask for it. Or even if they don't ask, you may offer a little advice during a good moment, like after your husband has eaten and is in a good mood. Then you can gently share something. Now let's go back to the situation with your mother. She is depressed. How can you help? There are 3 levels of life. Try to see it from another perspective. When I'm not working on myself, and my mother isn't either, no one can help anyone. What can you really do for your mother? To change your fate, you need to make an effort. But she doesn't have that inner strength. Most people today live like consumers, and in that state, the mind is inactive. A person comes home, turns on the TV, and what happens? They just sit and entertain their mind. The intellect isn't working. When we watch TV, scroll the internet, or play video games, during all of this, our intelligence is switched off. Even while working a job, the mind is active, but not towards self-improvement. It's focused on survival. The intellect is just earning money mechanically. No personal transformation happens during this time. When someone lives like this, purely as a consumer, they have no strength to help themselves, no inner power, no potential, because the intellect is turned off, but the mind has the power to transform life. So when someone says, "How can I help my mother? What should I do?" This is coming from that first level of life. And for people on that level, there are certain ways others try to fool them. The first way is to talk your mom into something. You go to an old lady, pay her some money. She whispers something and says, "That's it, it will help your mom." And you leave. Will it really help your mom? No, because your mind wasn't engaged, and your mother's mind wasn't engaged. Only deception was at work.
Dr. Torsunov, a gift for you.
Thank you very much. This is a selfless gift. It comes from gratitude. And what arises in my heart towards this young lady? The following: may God give you the very best in life, everything you have, and everything you wish to receive. This comes from the heart naturally because she's not asking for anything. She simply gave me a gift. This is how we should build our relationship with God. We should just give Him something. In this case, she's building a relationship with me, but it's not really with me because I'm not the source of her happiness. There is a power that helps her, and it's not mine. She gave me a gift out of gratitude, without asking for anything. Usually when people give a gift, they add a note like bait on a hook. First comes the worm, and then the hook, and off we go. Some people come to me like this: "Dr. Torsunov, here's a donation, 2,000 rubles. God forbid I don't take it." They grab my hand. I have a question. And then for 2 hours, full-on talk. But this is completely different. This is how we should treat those close to us. Just give them something and expect nothing in return. Then God begins to act through them. So look, my family and relatives are one whole, one energetic system. We are all connected. I come home from work, tired, turn on the TV, and I'm entertained by Schwarzenegger types and many others, Brad Pitt. They all perform wonders, shoot and kill to keep me entertained. At that time, the mind is not working. It's switched off. I'm just looking for pleasure. If a person is struggling in life, they enjoy watching blockbusters where everyone's fighting and killing. If someone wants pleasure, they switch to romantic scenes, the sighs and moans. That's pleasure too, enjoying along with the characters. If a person is completely tired of life, they turn to some science fiction, like in the song, "Beautiful future, don't be cruel to me, just a dream, that feels good." And when someone feels unsteady, they watch cartoons. They want to return to childhood. In childhood, there's no karma. Everything is fine. It's joyful and carefree. What is the person doing all this time? just distracting themselves, entertaining themselves. That's how it always is. These are simply stages of escaping from life. Most people don't really want to live. They just want to exist. I once did an experiment on my cat, back when I was a student and came home to visit. My mom had a cat, and I observed her. She would go to the kitchen to eat. I always watched her there. It was the best time to study. One time she was going to eat, and I gently grabbed her tail, curious how she'd react. I wanted to see the stages of her reaction. I held her tail gently, kindly, not letting her go further. She pretended not to notice. That was the first stage. She just walked forward, though she couldn't go. Her legs were moving, but I was still holding her. She acted as if soon I'd let her go and everything would be fine. She could eat, so she kept walking, but I didn't let go. She respected me, so she didn't want to protest. She just pretended everything was normal, out of respect. But I kept holding her tail. It was a scientific experiment. Then came the next stage. Meow. She didn't turn around, just kept meowing. Meow, meow, meow. But it didn't work. Then she turned to me, turned like this and meowed right in my face. What's wrong with you, man? I need to eat. Let's settle this like humans. But I still didn't let go. Even meowing in my face didn't help. And then she realized she had to do something about the hand holding the tail, otherwise nothing would change. Then she pretended she was about to bite me and I let go. These were like stages of dealing with problems. And most people stay at the first stage. Watching TV is the first stage. We don't want to face the problem, we just distract ourselves. Just distracting ourselves. Then we start complaining. Dr. Torsunov, please help. My mom is not well. But what do I have to do with it? People ask me for help. Some even come up and say, let me just touch your hand. They make a wish, hold my hand, and that's it. Then they go home and see their mother sitting like the Snow Queen, calm and fine, just held a hand, and everything is fixed. These are different levels of understanding, wanting something to solve the problem automatically. We don't want to work on ourselves or put in effort. We just want to enjoy life. That's common. The next stage is trying to understand. At this point, a person is still crying inside. They go to the temple. They say, please pray for me. They cry out to God, take this problem away. My husband is cheating. They pray, demanding God to fix the situation. But during this, they begin to come out of that passive state. Remember, the first level is when a person is just a consumer. At that level, nothing changes, ever. That's why stress becomes necessary. It pushes a person out of this state. The second level begins when a person wants to make a change, but they haven't yet reached the main point of level 2, which is working on themselves. At first, they ask everyone around, give me something, help me, everything is bad. They want others to solve their problems. That's how people usually start, wanting someone else to fix things. But this is no longer the first level where we just sit and expect miracles. On the second level, there's already some movement inside. The person wants to change something, but still at someone else's expense. Someone else should take action, but that never works, because we have to live our own life, not someone else's. That's the real issue. As the second level develops, the person starts looking for knowledge. They search because they don't know what to do. They want to understand. They're looking for answers. Their usual ways don't work anymore. Nothing changes. Their mom is depressed. I can't do anything. She chose the wrong goal in life. Children. Now she is suffering and I want to help. But slowly I start to see that maybe it's not her problem, it's mine, because I'm the one suffering from her depression. Maybe I'm suffering because of how I see things. Maybe I should start with myself and try to change something in me. Especially since I can't help my mother, but I want to. And that's when a person starts working on themselves. Interestingly, people often don't know how to work on themselves because they have no energy. People come to me with the same issue again and again. The problem is that they don't have the strength to work on themselves. That's the real issue. No strength means no time. People say, I don't have time to work on myself. I get up, go to work, that's it. But here's the thing. When someone falls in love and needs to go on a date, but has no time, will they go on the date or not? Raise your hand who among you, after falling in love and having no time at all, would not go on a date? Are there such people? Young man, you wouldn't go? You would? You see, when someone really wants something, they always find the time. In other words, they just don't really want to work on themselves. It's not about lack of time. They simply don't feel the need. That's why there's no time. It's just not necessary for them. Interestingly, when a person does begin working on themselves, their whole life starts to adjust to this new way of living. When someone begins self-development, their life changes, and day by day, their ability to continue grows stronger. Their job, their housework, all of it adjusts. Life reorganizes itself because their thinking changes, and destiny starts giving them the opportunity. Still, the problem remains no energy. Even if there's a strong desire to grow, there's no energy. And people don't understand that strength doesn't come from within. It never comes from inside. So what is faith? There are 3 types of faith. Most people in this world believe only in themselves, and they don't even realize it. How young we were, how sincerely we loved, how much we believed in ourselves. We've already played the first half of the game and only just realized we've lost all our friends. Try not to lose yourself. When a person believes only in themselves, they lose everything. They can't keep anything because believing only in yourself means, I help myself, but I have no strength. It becomes a vicious cycle. The problem is that at first people don't want to believe in anything beyond themselves. They trust only themselves, and that's why they suffer and continue to struggle. Because when someone relies only on themselves, they have nowhere to draw strength from. The second stage is when a person begins to search, and it becomes very hard to accept that they need to surrender to some kind of knowledge or authority. So during this second stage of seeking strength, people usually turn to those who are not part of any religious or spiritual tradition. These people often say things like, I created my own system. This is usually the level of psychologists and various practitioners. People don't want to submit to any knowledge. They don't want to surrender to God because God usually comes into a person's life through clear rules and discipline. And that's exactly why it's a guaranteed path to success. Where is it better to learn math? At a university like Cambridge, where it's been taught for 500 years? Or from a random guy who invented his own math? Of course, it's better to study within a proven system that has stood the test of time. Most people in the second stage of development are looking for where to get strength from. They already know they can't do it alone. They need strength, but they're afraid of going into spiritual traditions because they don't want to submit to anything. They want to receive something without giving anything back. But what can we offer? The only thing we can offer is ourselves. Our freedom. We can choose to surrender to something. But if a person refuses to submit to knowledge, then real inspiration doesn't come. Because most of the coaches, psychologists, or practitioners people turn to, they don't require anything from a person. They don't ask for real change. They don't ask for any vows or commitments. They just offer some external techniques. Smile like this, act like that, walk this way, and everything in your life will change. They're misleading the person. They say, go to your mother, tease her a bit, she's in depression, shake her up, smile at her, give her some gifts. She's in depression, and little by little she'll cheer up, and that's it. She'll come out of it. Everything will be fine. This is such a shallow approach, like heating up pasta. When it's warm, it's ready. Cold pasta is like depression. Heat it up and it's ready to eat. But your mother isn't pasta. She's not depressed because she's slow or lazy, but because she has a wrong understanding of life. And you also have a wrong view of life. You just haven't lived long enough yet. That's why you're not in depression. Soon you'll face the same thing, because you don't have the right direction or proper goals in life. You just haven't been through what your mother has. The time hasn't come yet. You think, I'm better. Mom is worse. She's depressed. I'm not. Everything's fine with me. But the time will come. Life will test you. You'll also face depression because your goals are not right, not set properly. These people are not passive. They are seekers. At first, they look for a random kind guy who will solve all their problems for them. Then they turn to various methods and practices that don't demand anything in return. I won't do anything. They'll just teach me something. They don't want to change themselves. Just learn something external and hope that will change everything. But that doesn't work either. It's just a waste of time. Then there's only one last option left, the one everyone is afraid of, to submit to a faith. Most people are scared of the very word faith. They fear the idea of believing in something because real belief means changing everything. Your understanding, your rules, your habits, your views, everything. And only when a person changes everything in their life, notice I'm not saying what faith exactly, I'm not emphasizing that. Why? Because each person has their own spiritual path. Everyone must find their own faith and move in their own direction. When someone enters the second stage of life, trying to change, they still can't influence others, but they're already changing within. And at the peak of this second stage, they make a decision to study different spiritual traditions. At that moment, when they make this choice, a joy arises in the heart because the super soul, a representation of God, is sitting there waiting for you to understand how to live properly. Because for so many lives you've just been building little homes, sometimes in a human body, sometimes in a badger's body, always building and never realizing that you are a soul, not a body. You need to think about the soul, about spiritual life, not just about material things, but you keep trying to settle in this world. The super soul is the power that gives real happiness to a person. Happiness comes either by fate, when the time is right, or through the right decision in life. Who among you, after yesterday's lecture, felt a deep happiness in your heart, like you found something truly important? That wasn't me. It happened inside of you. It was the super soul, your conscience, telling you, we're on the right path, guys. Strength comes only from above. One person cannot help another unless they themselves are connected to the source. The system has to work. Why does the light shine? Because energy comes from the power plant. It doesn't come from the outlet, it comes from the power station. The chain breaks somewhere and the energy doesn't flow. Who is a holy person? Someone who shines. Why does he shine? Because he's connected to the chain. He believes in God. He doesn't believe in himself or in Lenin. He believes in God. There are 3 types of people. People in degradation believe in themselves. People in passion believe in people. People in pure goodness believe in God. When a person begins to believe in holiness, in purity, and holiness is always passed along a chain where people pass knowledge to one another. This is called tradition, spiritual succession. You need to find a tradition that resonates with you, where you feel joy. Right now I live in a Muslim home, and there's a Muslim atmosphere there. A mentor's photos hang right above my head. One night while sleeping I saw a dance. The Sufis were spinning and dancing. I felt the happiness in it, the connection with God through the dance, through prayer. I felt this deep joy that I wouldn't have experienced on my own. But because the place was filled with prayer, I could feel it. There are different flavors of connecting with God, and they bring strong inspiration. When a person feels that inspiration, they start waking up early, praying, wishing happiness to others, forgiving, asking for forgiveness, and their life begins to flow in the right direction. Because they've tasted the connection, and the power starts flowing. That power comes from above. Why can some wake up early while others can't? Because they're not connected. They lack faith. But when someone begins to associate with those who work on themselves, they start to feel enthusiasm, and this inner strength begins to influence everything. First, their inner world begins to change. They start getting up early and begin praying. Everything around them remains the same. Their friends, job, food habits, nothing external has changed. But they like living differently now. They want to get up early. First, their daily routine changes. Then slowly they start to feel that life itself is changing. They begin to develop good habits. Their diet changes, their environment shifts, and new friends appear. Let's move forward. Gradually, deeper changes happen, and the time comes when even their work begins to change. They may start working somewhere that gives more space for spiritual practice, or their attitude towards work changes. They may stay at the same job, but now they understand its purpose differently, and it feels better. Then comes a time when their personal life also begins to change. Their family relationships shift. Because personal life doesn't mean pushing away a relative who doesn't practice spirituality and finding someone more advanced, as some people think. No, you need to remain within your destiny. There's nothing you can do. Family is created by God. You can't replace your child just like you can't replace your husband. It's a lifelong situation, so a person remains in the family, and transformation begins from within. That's a deep level of personal development. And that means you've stepped into the next square. The first square, you watch TV and just dream, living in fantasies, thinking everything is fine. Meanwhile, the cat walks forward, holds its tail high, but it's stuck in place. The second stage, the cat turns around and meows. It's already found the source of the problem. It's realized that something must be done, but still doesn't have the strength. A person receives knowledge and begins to change their life. Then comes the third stage, influence over the situation. That's when the cat tries to bite the hand. I let go right away. If I hadn't, she would have tried a few more times and then snapped. She would have won anyway. It's her tail. The third stage means that influence begins, and it always works in the same way. Influence develops in 3 stages. And it always starts when a person is already connected to the chain. They already know what prayer is, how to work on themselves. They do this practice every day. And influence on a situation goes through 3 stages. Stage 1, I feel peace in my heart. I feel confident that everything will be fine, that mom will definitely come out of her depression. Stage 2, I begin to influence. I can talk to my mom about it, but talking doesn't mean putting pressure on her. It means speaking with love, because suddenly, mom actually wants to listen. For some reason, she believes me. When you have the strength to change a situation, the supersoul, the voice of conscience in her heart says, listen to your daughter. She's telling you the truth, and people begin to open their ears. They feel drawn to listen. And the third stage, mom starts to change, but it all starts with your own life. I've already answered all those questions. Because all the questions are the same. How can I help when I feel helpless? It all happens through inner life, through your relationship with the voice of conscience, with the supersoul. When a person enters the stage of working on themselves with faith, the source of energy begins to flow into them. When they connect to the network, they begin to shine like a light bulb, and from that moment they start to influence the lives of their loved ones. There's no other way to help. Next note. Is it possible to raise a complete man alone without a husband? I don't want to have another man around, or does a boy need a male example? It's a difficult question. The classic case is this. If a woman believes in her late husband and remains faithful to him, she stays spiritually connected to him and doesn't need another man. Through him, strength continues to come. He becomes a guardian angel for the mother and child. This is possible if the father went to higher realms, but if he ended up in hell because he lived a life of debauchery and alcohol, then being faithful to such a person won't help the child. Because instead of heaven, you'll be connecting with hell. In that case, it's better to find another husband and try to build a new relationship. A child needs male strength, someone to care for him, and that strength must come from above. If the husband lived an honest life but passed away too soon, that happens. But if the strength comes from below, it will pull you down instead. Then the woman ends up trying to pull her husband out of hell, support her son, and carry everything alone. She doesn't have the strength. She cries all the time and falls into depression. One woman came up to me and said, I can't marry again. My husband passed away. Because to her husband was like God. She didn't believe in God. She believed in her husband. He's gone, but she still believes in him. And now there's nowhere she can draw strength from. There are two options. It all depends on what kind of man your husband was. Next note. We're the same age. We've been together since we were 14. At 16, he got into marijuana. We got engaged when I was 19. At 20, he got into hard drugs. At 21, he kicked me out. My grounded nature was getting in the way of his creativity. He saw himself as an artist. Well, imagine that. At 25, he quit drugs and proposed. I wanted to save him. We got married, had a church wedding, moved to Moscow. He wanted to work there. But during my pregnancy, he left for 4 months. Because you see, it's hard to be around a pregnant woman. Because it's not just the wife draining energy. Now the baby does too. Two people are pulling energy from him. That's why when the wife gets pregnant, the man either leaves or abandons her completely. It's hard to live when someone is taking your energy. A woman, in his eyes, is only for pleasure, for enjoying her body, nothing more. And once she's pregnant, that's it, goodbye. Now he wants a different boob. Because of housing issues, I stayed here with my mother while he rented a place in Moscow. Twice my child and I moved in with him when his living situation was stable. I left again thinking he had truly quit drugs. But he only quit a year later. The result? Since I didn't follow him and didn't believe he could provide for our son, now he's living with a young woman and renovating an apartment in Moscow. They say she wasn't afraid to live with him in a tiny room without water or a stove. Meanwhile, I was quietly supporting him, never nagging, never asking for money. I just stayed silent. Now he sends me links to your lectures about how a wife should behave. Together with his new girlfriend, he reads spiritual books, eats only raw food, fasts, prays, and he still can't forgive me. He blames me for everything. And I still eat chicken. He doesn't. So he thinks that makes him more spiritual. He doesn't smoke marijuana during fasting. I pray and believe. That's a heartfelt message. Thank you for your faith and warmth. But you need to set a time limit. He left you, lives with another woman. Set a deadline. How do you do that? You were abandoned. Maybe you deserved it, but that doesn't mean you should suffer your whole life. Set a deadline. Usually it's 1 year. A year and a half, that's already a lot. Really a lot, if you have the strength. Set a year and pray. First write a letter. I will wait for you for 1 year. Then continue your prayer. Just pray to the Lord and ask Him to help you overcome karma. Whether karma is overcome or not, no one knows, but you must pray. Some believe that a woman with a child has less chance of getting married than a single man. That's true. But remember, karma follows the man who abandoned the woman and child. Karma sticks where there's less responsibility, fewer duties. When someone throws away their responsibilities, fate punishes them, and often in unexpected ways. A man who leaves his wife quickly finds a very beautiful and spiritual girl, someone advanced. We engage in spiritual sex every day. Everything is very spiritual between us. Just the two of us, just the two of us. It's only you and me now, my beloved, my precious one. Everything seems fine at first, but it's just the beginning of summer and their love. God has His own plans. That's how He teaches people. Stage 1, deep enjoyment of the relationship. The person is happy, enjoying life. Stage 2, the woman is suffering alone with the child, doing spiritual practices, struggling with her sins. And the man, he acts all holy, listens to lectures, performs healing practices, eats only raw food. He doesn't smoke marijuana during fasting periods. Next stage, difficulties. Sins start weighing on him, and when the phase of enjoyment ends, trouble begins. Because here's the truth. A truly honest girl won't take another woman's husband. A girl with a pure heart will never break a family apart. Like in that old joke, dude shows up in a fur coat and his buddy asks, "Where did you get that?" He says, "Found it on the street." "How did you find it? Tell me more." "I was walking down the street and saw a man tangled up in a fur coat. I helped untangle him. The coat was just lying there on the road." Same thing here. I thought I found myself a free man, but he was a bit tangled up, with a woman, 2 kids, with his wife actually. It took me some effort to untangle him. The system doesn't work that way. God is right here. He sees everything. You can't fool Him. So first, God allows the man to get strongly attached to the young woman, the one who will later become the sword hanging over his destiny. He gives him some happy days with her. But why? So that he starts believing in this whole setup. But the girl doesn't have a divine nature. She lacks real qualities. A good girl won't take someone else's man. Her conscience won't allow it. But if there's no conscience, then she takes someone else's husband and enjoys being with him. But since the relationship is not blessed by God, there's no real connection between them. Why can't people separate? Because there's a deep bond between them. And if that bond is missing, what happens next? The girl starts feeling like something is pushing him away. She senses he's still connected to someone. He says, "I don't love her, she left me." "Then why do you keep talking about her? She hurt you, she left you, talk about me instead." She feels something is wrong, and then what happens? The third stage, goodbye. Trains are leaving from every station, heading far away. Goodbye, goodbye, we part forever, under the white sky of January. Goodbye, don't say anything, don't make promises. If you want to understand my sorrow, just look into the empty sky. The girl leaves, and then he cries, but it's too late to return to his wife. Usually 5 years have already passed. And what did the wife do? She set a 1-year limit. She prayed. She asked. If the man has wisdom, he usually comes back. If he doesn't, then thank God. It means she deserves someone better. But at the time, it feels so hard, like God is doing something wrong in her life. So she keeps praying. She prays not to get her husband back, but for service to God. She says, "You decide what's best for both of us. I want to keep the family, but if that's not your will, then your will is greater than mine. I want to serve you. I want to live for you. I don't want to eat chicken anymore," and so on. She prays. She tries. She set a 1-year deadline. She writes letters to her husband saying, "Please, let's save our family. Come back. Maybe you're right that I'm the only one to blame. But if you're a mature and sensible person, you will forgive me and try to rebuild our family." These are sincere letters written with the intention to fix the situation. She sends 5, 6, even 7 letters, calls him, tries to bring him back, humbles herself, while he insults her and mocks her. She keeps going like this until finally, after a year, her heart feels lighter. When the time is up and the effort is complete, a sense of relief comes. God forgives and says, "From now on, only paradise lies ahead in life." And the person continues on their life path because fate was cut short. She couldn't achieve her goal, didn't have the strength, but God forgives and gives new chances. As for the man who stayed with a young woman, he can also keep his second family if he sincerely regrets not being able to live with his first wife. If he repents, asks for forgiveness and so on. But if the first wife with children hasn't remarried, then real repentance means he must go back because God hasn't yet approved the new relationship or new family. When is it approved? When that woman with children gets married, then it means you no longer need to return. But even then, you still have to repent for what you did. Otherwise, your second family will fall apart. Next note, what should guide an artist or a singer in their work? The desire to gain fame is natural. When someone is born with the desire for power, fame, success, or money, that's natural. It shows their inner merit. People without merit want nothing at all. They lack ambition. They're like plants, just sitting at home and doing nothing. If a person doesn't desire anything, it means they lack inner merit. All virtuous people, their virtue first appears as ambition. Ambition is the desire to live differently. You start wanting this or that in life. These ambitions burn in your heart, but by themselves they don't help you live correctly. It's just an undeveloped person living off ambition, wanting power, wanting to control. That's ambition. But if someone starts leading others driven only by ambition, people reject such leadership. They don't want it because that kind of person can't really help them. If someone wants power, that desire should turn into a desire to care for people, and then those people will willingly give him authority. They allow him to lead if he invests strength and energy into them. But the desire for power itself is like a core. It lies at the root of a person's nature. A scientist's nature is to take risks, to be smart and developed. That's his ambition, to grow in knowledge. A manager's nature is ambition for power. A merchant's nature is ambition for money and wealth. A creative person's nature is ambition in their art, to express themselves in the direction they choose. There must always be ambition. If there's none, it means there's no inner merit. A person lives like a plant, no strength to grow. They want nothing. Wanting nothing doesn't mean you're totally lost. It just means you're living the wrong way. And in any case, even to develop ambition, you need prayer. The highest goal in life must come first. Then, for a man, his work. For a woman, her family. So a man who is growing spiritually works on himself. I don't know, Dr. Torsunov, I don't feel like doing anything. I wake up in the morning and I feel no desire at all. That's it. Start your spiritual practice. Search for your faith. Find mentors. Build spiritual connections. Go where people practice spirituality. Through this, strength will come to you. Strength comes from God. When you go to a temple, attend spiritual gatherings, or visit holy places, you receive power and inspiration. Now you've come to this lecture, and you're being recharged like a battery. You're gaining energy. And you start thinking, I'll begin waking up early. I'll do this. I'll do that. Something is happening inside. You're being filled. This is good. It happens through association. You need contact with a higher power. I also recharge in the same way. I travel. I listen to. I pray constantly. Stay in touch with my mentor. It's the same path. There's no other way to bring this strength into your heart, only through faith. So understand this. Even if a person feels helpless in life or simply lazy, it doesn't mean they can't change. They start proper communication. They force themselves to put on earphones and listen to spiritual music, prayers, and teachings. Life begins to change. Enthusiasm appears in the heart. They feel a desire to do something. They may not know what yet, but the desire to change is already there. We were born to make dreams come true, to rise above time and space. Now they begin to feel, I wasn't born on this earth for nothing. I have the strength to change, because strength comes from above. And the next stage is action. A woman starts her journey with feminine activities. She meets girlfriends, cares for everyone, brings pies to the elderly neighbor, feeds birds in the yard. She plants trees in the yard, let them grow. She's very busy. She cares about everyone. Her cheeks become rosier. The more she cares, the more the energy of love flows in her life. And the more it flows, the more beautiful her cheeks become. Her lips become softer, her eyes brighter, her hair healthier. Everything improves. Everything changes for the better. Why? Because she's filled with feminine beauty and strength. It's not because of makeup. You wouldn't believe it. Sometimes her lipstick is this thick. Real beauty is inner energy. It comes from relationships, from connection. A woman's feminine qualities awaken when she gains strength. And strength comes from God, always from God. So the first step is spiritual life. You need to bring yourself to places where people engage in spiritual practice. Then the desire awakens to live as a woman, not like a man, but as a woman. When a person absorbs demonic energy instead of divine, everything gets reversed. The woman wants to work more, and the man just wants to sit at home and drink beer. But when a person connects with divine energy, a woman wants to grow as a woman, and a man as a man. This is true development. A woman may not know yet who her future husband will be. She has no family, but she is already happy, even without it. Raise your hands, those of you who have already started living like this, happy without a family. That means your family will come very soon, 100%. You must become happy first, then everything else will fall into place on its own. If someone isn't happy yet, move in that direction. Prayer and service to others, caring for everyone with a feminine heart. And happiness comes to the heart before marriage, and then people start looking at you as a happy person. Such a woman is priceless. Like a cow you'd never want to share, and even milking her all night your hand would get tired. When a woman is truly beautiful, she becomes precious. But beautiful doesn't mean having 20 millimeters of lipstick. It means she's functionally beautiful. She cares for others. She has a different kind of beauty, not just external but internal, a more reliable beauty, the kind that truly lasts. Then the girl gets a clear understanding of what her future family life will look like. God gives her that knowledge. And the young man naturally begins to understand what he should do in life. When a person starts functioning as a personality, the time comes and he begins to feel his direction. Before that, he was just sitting at home, drinking beer with dried fish, binge-watching TV shows. Then he got tired of that lifestyle. He started listening to spiritual lectures, going to spiritual programs, began to pray. At that point, his development began. He started waking up early, working on himself, pouring cold water over his body, joined a boxing class, and it became easier. Slowly he started to grow. He felt inner strength, felt that he was finally living like a man. Then he just went to work, doesn't matter where. Masculine energy needs to be set in motion. For that, a man must perform healing practice. A man can't live without it. For women, their practice is caring. It's very difficult for a woman to care for others because she wants to be cared for herself. As the song says, I can do anything, I won't break my vows. Spiritual energy gives strength. A woman walks, smiles at everyone, takes care of others, even though inside she longs to be taken care of. It's the same with men, just in a masculine way. It's very hard for a man to go to work. He wants to be the boss, but he has to follow orders. He dreams of a job where money falls from the sky and he does nothing. But such jobs don't exist. So he has to go and work hard for someone. And he does. He begins to grow as a person, performs healing practices, suffers, but life starts moving. And the more a person engages in spiritual practice, the more clarity appears in the heart, where to go, how to live. He finds a circle of like-minded people, they guide him too. Personal growth begins. And when a person truly feels he's conquered his destiny, a man discovers his life's purpose and a woman finds her family. When a man finds his purpose, he blossoms, he becomes strong, and suddenly girls start noticing him because women are naturally drawn to such men. As the song says, a soldier walks through the city, and the whole street shines with the smiles of girls. The man has grown as a person, he has conquered himself and become handsome. Now he attracts women because he can bring happiness into their lives. He is mature, he can handle female emotions because he is full inside. A filled vessel is strong. You throw a pebble into it, it goes plop and doesn't ring. The source of this strength comes from God. Everything begins with spiritual life. But because people don't practice spirituality now, they are dying out like dinosaurs, you understand? Men are dying out, women are dying out, only buddies remain. Like in Sweden where they passed a buddy law. No men, no women, just buddies. Women can wear pants, men can wear skirts, all buddies. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.